Hi, I'm Paul. I'm a teacher at a private school in Thailand. Welcome back to my channel for another video. Today we're going to talk about my education and the education system in general in the United States. This is a question I've gotten a lot in the comments. Thank you for your input, by the way. I try to respond to any questions and comments in the comment section, but there's many questions. So if you have a question and I see it repeated frequently, rather than address one individual question, I'll just make a video for it. So please keep posting questions, keep posting comments. I really appreciate the input that everybody has. Now, with the video, first of all, my personal experiences in the education system in the United States. When I was young, I went to public school. I went to a kindergarten school and an elementary school until 5th grade. That's normal in the United States. Normally, elementary schools are kindergarten through 5th grade. I started going when I was 6 years old, which would be 1 year of kindergarten and then 5 years of elementary school. And then I went to private schools when I was older. So I went to elite private schools in the United States, some of the most competitive schools in the area where I lived. The private school that I went to is the same one that Bill Gates went to about 15 years before me, because he's much older than me. It's called Lakeside. And it's an elite private school. Just the tests to get in are highly competitive. I think they reject 95% of their candidates, and so they give you a series of assessment and placement tests. The tests are for 5th and 6th graders. They're probably similar to the kind of tests that are given in China. They're the standardized tests, but they also do tests like thinking out of the box, lateral thinking, and similar subjects like that. They're not just looking for people that can do well on standardized tests, but they're looking for creative thinkers and people who are non-traditional in the way that they think. So when I went to private school in 7th and 8th grade, the private school that I went to was incredibly challenging. There was at least 3 hours of homework every night, and all of the subject material was very advanced for our age. And the way that they taught was very different from how they taught in public school in the United States, as well as how they teach in most private schools. Because this was such an advanced private school, they really knew what they were doing. They knew how to teach much better than any school I have had experience with since. And that's including like the best American international schools, which are usually the best schools in most countries. The school that I went to was actually better than elite American international schools. So here's why it was better. The school that I went to didn't teach you what to think. When you study, they didn't give you the answers. They didn't tell you how to get the answers. They would make you think for yourself. They would make you figure out the answers without giving you a strategy to do that. And they would do that in a lot of different ways. Here's one example. In science class, in 7th grade, they were teaching us about the concept of density. So, for example, you take a golf ball and you put it in a bucket of water and the golf ball sinks. But you take a ping pong ball or a ball of foam or a ball with a very light density, the material doesn't matter, and you put it in and it floats. And they would do that, and they would tell you Why does one ball sink? Why does the other ball float? What is the mechanism behind that? What's the underlying reason for that? And this was before the internet existed. And they would tell you, they want you to go home and think about it and then write a paper about the reason why you think that's happening. So when they're teaching you about the density of an object, they wouldn't just give you the answer or say, the reason is because of the density. They would make you go through the process of trying to figure it out yourself. And they took that approach in math, they took that approach in language. They did that all the time with a variety of different subjects. In Spanish class, for example, they would have us watch a music video in Spanish, and they wouldn't tell us what the music video said. They wouldn't tell us the words. They wouldn't tell us anything. They would just have us watch it a couple of times in class. And then we would have a discussion in class as a group about what we thought the music video said, what we thought the words meant. And this was first year Spanish, so we really didn't know any Spanish, okay? And then we would separate into small groups of maybe 3 or 4 people. We would write a presentation that we would give to that class, about what we thought the words meant. And then the next day, we would watch the same video again. And this time they would tell us several of the key words in the music video. And we would do the same thing again. And so we would spend maybe a week learning this music video, and every day we would learn a little bit more about it, a little bit more about its meaning. But every day we would try and figure out the more and more of the meaning. So we would be given hints, and then we would take those hints and use them. So that's how language was taught at this school. And what this school did was, this school taught all of its students to be totally fluent in a foreign language in 3 years. When I was in 10th grade, after 3 years of studying Spanish, I was fluent. I could speak at a native level. My accent wasn't good, but my language ability, my ability to speak, was very good. I could easily have conversations with native speakers. I could live in a Spanish-speaking country, no problem. And in addition to that, I took a Spanish standardized exam, a college placement exam. It was a university level exam, and I got 100% on the exam. I got every single question right. So my grammar ability, my language ability, my ability to speak was all basically perfect. The only thing that they didn't really teach us was the accent. And then in 10th to 12th grade, I went on to a different private school. It was a similar private school. The school had a lot of sports, a lot of extracurricular activities. They really focused on developing students in a well-rounded manner, not just the way they think, but also their ability to think and their ability to do a wide variety of things. So we would do things like camping trips regularly. We would do a lot of sports. Sports were always encouraged. There was a lot of activities, and the variety of sports available to choose from was very high. They had almost every kind of sport, and they would have 3 seasons or 4 seasons per school year where you would do different sports. And basically, if you were a student there, you had to either do sports, or there were other extracurricular activities that were offered during that time period. But it wasn't an option to not do those activities. As I said before, it was just an enormous amount of homework, just homework all the time, 2 or 3 hours every night, and then on weekends, maybe 5 hours of homework. And every aspect of everything they did was far more advanced than the grade level I was in. So, for example, in 7th and 8th grade, when we were studying English, we would be studying more advanced English than what's taught at public schools in high school. We would be studying what's considered university level English. So we were reading Shakespeare books. We were reading Greek mythologies. We were studying advanced literature. We were studying very technical grammar that most American college students, even ones who get degrees in English, don't study. Everything that we did at that school was far more advanced. And then in 10th to 12th grade, I went on to a different private school. This school was structured differently. It was more for students who were not actively involved in going to this school. It was what you might call a distance learning school. They had a strong academic curriculum, but they were more focused on things you do outside of school. For example, it was a school that young children who were training to be professional athletes might do. So the requirement to be in the classroom every day was not there. It was a very different structure, but still very strong academic requirements, although the requirements were lower because of the structure of the school. But it was the school had different goals. It had different objectives than the middle school that I went to. And when I graduated from that school, I decided that I didn't want to go to a university. I decided that I wanted to, when I was young, I wanted to work at different jobs, travel the world, and do interesting things. So I didn't actually attend a university until I was 31, and I spent most of my 20s working around the world and traveling. So that's my personal experiences in the education system in the United States. It's very different from a normal American. I did do public school, but only when I was very young, and then I did elite private schools. So it's very atypical. I hope that you found this interesting and helpful.